Hi guys, welcome back to Brainwashed. My name is Urvi and here we have Sarvesh with us. I know this is very different from the usual videos that we do, but this is a new thing that we are starting again and hopefully this stays. And these are, us reintroducing our podcast and we hope you like it. The topic for today, as you guys must have read in the title, is the evolution of the Indian audience. And when we thought about this topic, we were like, who better than Humans of Cinema to discuss this with us? So here we have Harshit with us from Humans of Cinema.
Hi,
Hi
hi,
guys. Hi Sarvesh, hi Urvi.
hi,
Hi,
Harshit.
Thank you so
welcome to
much for having me here.
Brainwash.
Thank you. It's a huge pleasure to be here. मेरे को to have you here बोलने की इतनी आदत है क्योंकि अपनी podcast पे तो मैं अभी to have you here बोल रहा था. But yeah, so much for inviting me.
We're really excited for this one because, as you see, the topic is kind of really unique and something, usually just talk about movies and this and that and maybe rant on something, but we've never really spoken about us, that is the audience of Bollywood.
What we actually want to talk about is how Bollywood audience has evolved through the ages. Like in the 50s and everything, there was no a superstar. Like Devanand was there, Kushal Kumar was there, but the proper first superstar that came into Bollywood was Rajesh Khanna. Right? Everyone knows about it. So he was the first person to have that kind of fandom that every movie of his was celebrated by the audience. Like even if it was like not up to the mark, because Rajesh Khanna was in it, people went and watched it, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So how do you think that Bollywood has evolved from Rajesh Khanna to Masala Bollywood movies to the new fandoms that we have right now, and to the audience that is more involved in like art cinemas and different kind of new creative cinema? For example, there is an audience for movies like Tumbar, right now. Like I don't think 5 or 10 years ago we would really celebrate a movie like Tumbar like we did now. Like
Correct. हाँ यार मतलब from the 70s especially up till now, I think everything has changed a lot. I think mostly things have changed majorly in the last 5 years or so. Not just with OTT, but also in general with people in India getting exposed to international cinema. I think it started with the people in our generation when we started watching films on torrent. We started exchanging films on hard drives, external hard drives, and all of that, pen drives. So I think it just kind of started over there. And with time, OTT came in at the right moment. And I think people's sensibilities have just changed. At the same time, I feel like these sensibilities were always there. They were just not being sort of, nobody was catering to them in any way. There were production houses that were not willing to take those chances. So in the last 5 years, for example, Drishyam films, production houses like Drishyam films, and even people like Ronnie Screwvala, Siddharth Roy Kapoor, these producers, Guneet Monga, Shlok Sharma, these producers have really tried to give a platform, give voices. Anand Gandhi, Anurag Kashyap also for that matter, give voices to filmmakers who come from like independent backgrounds, and they want to tell stories that they really want, even if those films are taking many years to make, but they are making them. For example, Tumba took what 5-7 years, right, in order to get made. And I mean, Rahi Anil Barve wrote the script like even like way long before that as well. Like even before the film started getting made, it was probably like 5 or 6 years before that. For example, Chintu Kabotre. So these two brothers from the small town in Bihar, Devanshu Singh and Satyanshu Singh, right? Those are their names, right? Devanshu and Satyanshu. So I mean, it's just amazing to me to think about the fact that AIB, this comedy group, they took the chance with these two brothers and gave them the platform so that they could tell a story that they really wanted. So I mean, just it's I think it's just been a collaborative effort between the correct set of filmmakers and producers, as well as the audiences being open to watching these kinds of films. And I think all of that has sort of accumulated and come together in order to bring us to the stage that we are now. And I think it's only going to get better from here.
I really hope it's going to because, like we said before, like Sarvesh also mentioned, that people used to watch it for their stars, and now, people have a lot of knowledge about the makers, about the writers, and that's why we watch the movies. But there's still a considerable amount of people who still appreciate movies like Coolie Number One and Lakshmi and everything. So yeah, it is changing, and it is obviously changing for the good, but it's going to be really slow. That's what I feel, because there are, believe it or not, the people who I interact with on a daily basis still think that Tumbad was not that great a movie. And these are the same people who like fucking Coolie Number One. Like,
You
it's
can't.
like
Right.
such a
You,
huge.
you can't change
Yeah,
the
see,
taste of people, no? That much. Like
see, the
once.
thing is that India is
Yeah,
a country that can't be compared with any other country. Even we can't even compare ourselves with a country like China for that matter. Even though China also makes extremely diverse cinema in terms of they also have a lot of commercial films in addition to a lot of art house films as well. But at the same time, we can't compare ourselves with any country, especially the US, because our country is so diverse. There is so much economic inequality. There is so much cultural diversity. There are so many different kinds of economic groups, caste divisions, etc., etc. So it's just very difficult for us to. I mean, and for me personally, I wouldn't go out and especially for example, people who live in small towns, people who live in villages, I won't blame them for enjoying Coolie Number One, because they
yeah,
don't
yeah. That's
they
definitely
because that's the cinema that they're
yes.
exposed to, right? I mean, in cities, I mean, sure, we could probably still say, ki, bhai, why are you still watching Coolie Number One? People who are it's not even about city and small town villages. It's not even about that. There are a lot
Yeah,
of factors
it's
that come in.
totally about your choice. Yeah, true, true.
It's
So
about
I see my complaint is not with yeah, go on.
no. I was just saying that like every person comes with a certain background, and that background has led them to be at a stage where they are still watching Coolie Number One. I think, yeah, I think it'll take time for them to kind of make this shift. For example, people in our parents' generation, they have enjoyed and they have grown up watching a certain kind of cinema. But now, when they're watching these web shows that are coming out on OTT platforms, they're watching films like Bulbul on Netflix. So now their sensibilities are changing. So it takes time. But even now, my dad would any day prefer watching like a 70s Amitabh Bachchan film over, you know, like a slow film, like a slow for them. Like that's how they describe it, right? They वो बोलते हैं भाई
Yeah,
slow picture है. So I mean, they would still prefer those films even now. So I think it'll take time, yaar. मतलब, when a person has grown up with a certain kind of consuming a certain kind of cinema, बहुत मुश्किल है उसको change होना.
Yeah, it's a
yeah. Of
generational
course,
thing
it
now.
is difficult, and it obviously took time for us also to evolve. I mean, we also
Yeah.
went from watching VV number one and Coolie number one, the old one and everything, to, us watching what we watch right now. So, like I said, the person who I was talking about is someone who is on par with us, with our lifestyle. So that is specifically the group that I'm talking about. Yeah, there is diversity and there are different backgrounds, like you mentioned. But here the argument was specifically of this crowd that is bound to evolve after some time because they are exposed to OTT platforms and they are the main consumers. So they have to evolve with it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So
the
it is
Correct.
a
thing
little difficult, for
the
yeah,
thing is with generation gap now you can see कि उनका generation अलग है. They like different kind of movies. They are grown up watching those heroes fighting for the heroines kind of movies all the time. For them, that
Yeah.
is a proper uh, format of cinema. A masala movie, like comedy bhi hai, action bhi hai, drama bhi hai, and everything, and that is the perfect movie for them. But for us, we look for something new right now because as the thing that you are saying that the guys from our generation, guy or girl, so that is because we grew up watching so much Hollywood films. Like first we were exposed to all the BB number ones and Coolie number one, as you said.
yeah,
But after that, because of like how many channels there were on the TV when we were growing up, we watched so much Hollywood movies. Like उसके बाद आया torrent and everything, like he said. तो उसके बाद we just grew, like we started searching for movies on IMDb, like which is the highest rated movie. We started watching that. and that just improved our knowledge about movies and our taste of movies. Like we were not like happy with what we were watching in Bollywood. When we started our YouTube channel like 3 years ago, like we thought that Bollywood audience was not that evolved to enjoy these kind of movies. That's why mainly we started this like Bollywood page, or like you can also say to appreciate such kind of cinema, which is not actually appreciated by our audience.
So then what do you think would be like a good way for, channels like us, who have the power to influence others? What are some things that maybe we could do to even, push the other audience who are not into it towards it? Like, for example, I consider a lot of people who are even older than us as our audience, because nowadays everyone is on YouTube. So when I sat to watch Sir with, some older folks in my family, they actually liked it. It was a lot of forcing them and, making them sit, making them watch, and then, talking to them, explaining it to them. The same with Go Goa Gone, for example. I recently sat down to watch it with my family. So they didn't understand, the subtle, like nod they gave to Shaun of the Dead in the movie. They didn't get it. So, for these things to understand, you have to be exposed to that. So what is something that we, as a community or as someone who has the power to influence others, what can we do? Other than what we are doing right now, that is just telling them to watch it. But what are the other things that we could do?
मतलब वही कर सकते हैं. देखो जो आप लोग ऑलरेडी कर रहे हो, जो मैं भी करने की कोशिश करता हूँ कि you keep telling people about all kinds of films, not just the films that are coming out now, even for example older films that were great and never got their due, films of Guru Dutt, films of Shyam Benegal, films of Sai Paranjpi, we need to talk about those films as well, because they are the films, and of course non-Hindi, older non-Hindi films as well, Malayalam parallel cinema and films of Satyajit Ray, Bimal Roy. We need to talk about all of these films as well, because these films also kind of give us a perspective of where we are coming from. Those films are even more art house as compared to the films that we're talking about. Sir is not particularly an art house film. Sir is an amazing film, but if you truly want to watch films that show the potential of a parallel art house film in India, you have to watch Shyam Benegal's film. You have to see the kind of depth in which they go, in their whatever their subjects are, their themes are. So I mean, that's what we can do. Probably we can start talking about these older films as well, so that people start watching those films and then they understand कि भाई ठीक है, मतलब ताकि उनको एक path मिले, एक natural progression हो, starting from Satyajit Ray, then coming forward, and Satyajit Ray, Guru Dutt, then coming forward to Shyam Benegal, Govind Nihalani. उसके बाद फिर 90s में तो as such कुछ भी नहीं था. फिर early 2000s में थोड़े बहुत फिल्म मेकर होंगे. 90s में भी वो श्याम बेनेगल इन सब लोगों की फिल्में आती थी. और उसके बाद फिर ये पिछले कुछ 15 सालों के आसपास में अनुराग कश्यप टाइप के फिल्म मेकर्स ने करना स्टार्ट किया है. तो वही कि मतलब start telling them to watch those films as well. These are the films that people in our generation have not seen. Television also, जो अपना 90s का और late 80s का television था ना, some great television was being done back then. So वो तो अभी तक हमारी जनरेशन के जो मतलब सिनेफाइल्स हैं, जो मतलब फिल्म वॉचर्स हैं, एविड फिल्म वॉचर्स, उन्होंने भी नहीं देखा. बहुत अच्छे शोज थे उस टाइम में. तमस नाम का एक शो है गोविंद निहलानी का, वो इतना ज्यादा वेल मेड शो है और यूट्यूब पे अवेलेबल है ज्यादातर शोज, कॉमेडी शोज भी और ड्रामा शोज भी. तो वही कि मतलब दैट्स व्हाट वी कैन डू आई थिंक. और वो मैं धीरे धीरे करके कोशिश कर रहा हूँ अपने पेज पे भी करने की. और हाँ, मतलब आई थिंक दैट्स ऑल वी कैन डू यार. और हम क्या ही कर सकते हैं, हम लोग वही कोशिश कर सकते हैं कि हम लोगों को रेकमेंड करें और लोग देखें. और वो धीरे धीरे करके होगा भी और हो भी रहा है. लोग नोटिस कर भी रहे हैं उस चीज को. मेरे को बहुत सारे लोग मैसेज करते हैं आफ्टर आई रेकमेंड अ फिल्म ऑन ह्यूमंस सिनेमा. दे अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल टेक्स्ट मी टेलिंग मी कि भाई आई सॉ दैट फिल्म दैट यू रिकमेंडेड, हमको बहुत अच्छी लगी, थैंक यू सो मच. एंड आई टेल यू वन मोर थिंग, the reason, for example, people remember Humans of Cinema is because I am recommending them films which which go unnoticed, you know, like that's the reason. मतलब ये एक इंटरेस्टिंग चीज है ऑब्जर्व करने के लिए कि भाई कि मतलब there are so many of these other pages, Bollywood ranker, Bollywood ये वो, ऐसे बहुत सारे pages होते हैं ना, and all of them, you know, are still doing the same stuff. They're वो gossip pieces निकाल रहे हैं और वो लोग you know, they are still just uploading pictures of actors, and वो लोग commercial फिल्मों के बारे में बस बात करे जा रहे हैं, कोई नई फिल्म आ रही है उसको अनाउंस कर रहे हैं, तो they're still doing all of that. And no, the reason like nobody would really care about a new page that would be in that space is because people are done with commercial cinema now. Yeah, in terms of people want to learn about new things. People want to learn about the kind of cinema that makes them think, you know, that makes them reflect on their lives, that makes them reflect on real world issues. So I think एक बहुत बड़ी learning है इसमें भी, you know, the fact that you guys are doing it, and you know, the fact that people are watching, and बस हाँ ये चीज जरूर है कि even though less number of people will watch those posts, मतलब आपके भी views कम आते होंगे उन वाली films के ऊपर, जो थोड़ी lesser known films होती हैं, मेरे भी likes बहुत कम आते हैं उन वाली posts पे, लेकिन वो फिर ऐसी audience होती है कि अगर वो उस पे 4,000 लाइक्स आए हैं एज अपोज टू किसी रणबीर कपूर की फिल्म वाले पोस्ट पे 12,000 लाइक्स आएंगे, लेकिन वो 4,000 जो लाइक्स आएंगे ना, वो फिर मतलब वो फिर लॉयल मतलब वॉचर्स हैं, मतलब वो ऑनेस्ट फिल्म वॉचर्स हैं, फिर वो जरूर देखेंगे फिल्म को, और वो बहुत शौक से उस पोस्ट के बारे में पढ़ रहे हैं, और उसके बाद वो जरूर देखना चाहेंगे. तो you know, even if you are influencing the film watching decisions of, let's say, 10 people, I think that's also good enough. So I think you have to eventually make that decision. I think a lot of people, especially for example people like us who are making content about cinema, हो सकता है कि हम लोग distract हो जाएं, dissuade हो जाएं इस वाली चीज को देख के, यार इस पे likes तो आने रहे तो हम क्यों बनाएं इन वाली फिल्मों के बारे में. तो वो होता है कई बार, पर वही है, we have to remember why we're doing it.
When we started, we still don't get views on that. When we recommend movies about regional movies, which are like less known, like we did a lot of it during the lockdown because everyone was free. We suggested you go and watch these kind of movies. But as usual, as you said, we don't get views on that. But the thing is that even if 2 or 3 people go and watch it and then they message us, yeah, we like this movie, we recommended it, thank you for that. So I feel good कि okay, at least someone is like, I'm getting to interact with someone who is enjoying these movies as much as me. जितना मेरे को अच्छा लग रहा है उतना उनको भी अच्छा लग रहा है, तो it's okay, right?
And those are the people who are, you know, also going and watching the other movies that we recommended. Like I remember we made a video about Kumbalangi Nights, and there was this guy who has been following us for a long time, and he watched that, and then we made a video about Marathi movies. And the same guy said, I don't understand most of it. I turned on the subtitles and I watched it because you recommended it. So if that is going to be the case and people are going to be so, you know, receptive of the things that we put out, then obviously it will be great. But the main goal is to, you know, change their perception towards movies that are just cash grabs as opposed to movies that make you think. Like you said, you know, it should be able to influence you. It should be able to, you know, make a difference in your life as opposed to, you know, you just turn your brain off, you watch it for 3 hours and then you're done with the movie. Because now I feel like it's, you know, good that those days are going, because I don't think we need it anymore.
So as you said, Harshit, in the 70s and everything, we had Shyam Benegal, we had Guru Dutt and all of those films, like all of the filmmakers making those films. But in the 90s, everything became commercial. Like you said, you don't remember any new director from the 90s who made this kind of movies. I only remember Kundan Shah, but even he was not that. He was not even.
Kundan Shah was there. Ketan Mehta started making in the 90s.
Yeah.
There was this other person who made Raak, Amir Khan Raak. I think his name was.
I forgot his name.
I think he was a Benegal. I think it was either Dev Benegal, but I could be wrong. But Dev Benegal was another filmmaker that came in the 90s only. He made one film with Rahul Bose, a couple of films with Rahul Bose. Those were great. Aparna Sen was making some films in the 90s. So I mean people were there पर वो culture खत्म हो गया था जो 80s में culture था ना श्याम बेनेगल वगैरह का.
And the commercialization of Bollywood happened so quickly that it affected like Bollywood audience ka taste also. Like that is why we have this kind of like fandom kind of thing. Like before it, we only had I think Rajesh Khanna and Amitabh, and maybe Rishi Kapoor, like small actors, stuff like that. But we didn't have the Khans of Bollywood, a fandom like that. Ki us Khan ka movies, they watch it like a fucking religion.
Like a religion. It's become a religion now.
So, it is, and
it's like religion for them.
The amount of hate we get.
और इंडिया और नॉर्थ इंडिया से भी ज्यादा ये चीज साउथ इंडियन सिनेमा में है, तमिल सिनेमा में बहुत ज्यादा है. मतलब वहां पे तो फिर वो सच में दे वर्शिप द एक्टर्स ना.
Yeah, वहां पे it's like worship.
Yeah.
But if like you can do that, I don't mind that. Like you can love an actor that much, that is not bad. But then you can't hate an actor because you love this actor. I don't get that concept. If you like Salman Khan, you don't like Shah Rukh Khan. I don't get that. Like you can love both of those actors. You can love both of their movies together. Like it's not one against the other or anything like that. That kind of that created a bigger divide between the audience. Like content side में रह गया था and fandom became the main thing. Abhi ka audience, I don't think we have that. We have our favorite actors and we have actors that we don't like, but I don't think it's because they are rivals. Now it's because we don't like their acting or we don't like their personality or something like that. Not because of their like they are rivals. Like you don't hate Ranbir Kapoor because you like Ranveer Singh. That's what I'm saying.
Hi guys, so that was part 1 of our podcast, and in this podcast, as you saw, we discussed about the evolution of the audience and also the changing taste of the audience, along with the commercialization of Bollywood cinema and also a little bit about fandoms. In part 2 of this podcast, we'll be talking in depth about the commercial cinema and also a few actors that star in it. So you can click here to watch part 2.